form because the right to equal justice should not be conditional or based upon a person's color. Several other rallies and events are being held across the United States to mark the anniversary today. Dr. Chavis, these rallies, I should say, are going on throughout the globe.
Absolutely. We want to also lift up our two African-American owned newspapers in Minneapolis, the Minnesota Spokesman, Recorder, and the Insight News. We really want to thank all of our readers from all across the country, all of our publishers. They're staying on this anniversary date. And I'm glad you mentioned around the world, because today also is World Africa Day.
Which we will get to in a moment.
Yes, I'm sorry, I'm jumping ahead, but I'm just getting so many texts now from people who are watching the program. So when Dr. Striblin comes on, I want to know that she has a global audience today from Africa, the Caribbean, Brazil, all over the Pan-African world. People are watching, let it be known. But of course, everybody was touched by what happened 1 year ago with the murder of George Floyd. The expansion of Black Lives Matter movement, not just as a domestic outcry for freedom, justice, and equality, but it became worldwide. It became interracial, it became multiracial, multilingual, multi-ethnic, multi-geographical. It was a true global movement. And now, Stacy, it's interesting, on this anniversary date, the George Floyd Justice and Policing Act is still stalled in the United States Senate. It's terrible. It just shows you that people are making politics out of something that should rise above partisan politics. Everybody knows we need police reform, criminal justice reform. We need equal justice. We need racial justice. And certainly we in the Black press, we're going to continue to press these demands.
Yeah, absolutely. And Kevin Chisholm, Dr. Chavis, and his 14-year-old son, Kamari, are back for the second year to teach an online summer camp that helps young African Americans ages 12 to 21 learn about investing in the stock market, cryptocurrency, real estate, and more. According to blacknews.com, the camp, called Junior Wall Streeters Empowering Youth with Financial Wellness, will teach students lifelong financial education skills and discipline through 10 lessons with an emphasis on African American history and culture. So the father and son team is doing a lot. They are trying to close the wealth gap by doing this. Dr. Chavis, according to the Brookings Institute, the average net worth for African American households is $17,150 compared to $171,000 for white households. And the father and son team believes that one way African Americans can address these horrific numbers is by becoming more financially literate, which will provide the skills to better use financial resources. The school, Junior Wall Streeters, or the camp, is a nonprofit, and you can register at the camp at www.thebblackwallstreeter.com/shop. It's the www.thebblackwallstreeter.com. So the father and son team, Dr. Chavis, is really second year. They are really trying to make an impact.
That's great. And as we approach Father's Day, that's a great example, an entrepreneur example of working together. And certainly just want to point out, Stacy, that during COVID-19, which is still going on, the wealth gap, the wealth disparity between Blacks and whites in America has widened. It has not closed. So we have a lot of work to do on the financial side, on the economic development side, on the financial sustainability side of Black America.
Yeah, absolutely. And Dr. Chavis, I know you've been eagerly waiting to get to this point. Today, African governments and Africans throughout the diaspora commemorate Africa Day, formerly known as African Freedom Day and African Liberation Day. Africa Day is the annual commemoration of the founding of the Organization of African Unity on May 25th, 1963. The organization was later transformed into the African Union on July 9th, 2002 in South Africa. But the holiday continues to be celebrated on May 25th. It is celebrated in various countries on the continent as well as around the world. This year's theme of Africa Day is arts, culture, and heritage, levers for building the Africa we want. This year's Africa Day concert happens tonight and it will shine a light on Africa's next wave of talented stars who are making their mark on the global stage. And the concert will be hosted by none other than Idris Elba. Several artists will perform on multiple stages from Lagos to Johannesburg. The event will be streamed live globally on YouTube and broadcast on the MTV channel. So Africa Day, Dr. Chavis, a lot going on today and all week long.
Absolutely. And I'm very pleased on behalf of the Black Press of America. We participated and submitted a video that supports Africa Day. Our dear friend in the Congo, Noella Corsaris, one of the global top 10 models in the world, is leading that program tonight and today. And, at one point, we're going to get Noella on and let it be known, Stacy, because she's done such great work for Black women, young girls in the Congo, where there's a lot of striving for excellence, but education is key. What we do for our young brothers and sisters, what we do for our middle-aged brothers and sisters, education is key.
Yeah, absolutely. And Dr. Chavis, I envision pretty soon you, myself, and Chanta and the whole team at Let It Be Known will broadcast live from Africa one day.
Absolutely. Live from Africa, live from Brazil. We got to get our traveling, get all our vaccines in order so we can make these international travels and broadcast live from all over the world. We are the Black Press of America, but we're reporting to African people of African descent all over the world.
See how I put the boss on the spot? This is how you get things done. Good morning to James Wright of the Washington Informer, Nicole McDaniel, one of my favorite people in the whole wide world, David Youngblood, Bobby Henry, Norman Rich is watching this morning, Lynn Spivey, Joni King. Good morning to all. And yes, and Chanta says, speak it into existence, Dr. Chavis. And what we're going to speak into existence right now is our special guest. She is phenomenal. It's nothing short of phenomenal. And she's a public speaker. She's founder of the Born to Be Powerful Academy, a company that empowers women with the confidence and skills to dominate their personal and professional lives. Let us welcome Dr. Sonja Striblin. Good morning, Dr. Striblin.
Hello. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for having me. This is amazing. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you, Dr. Striblin, for all that you do. And we want to let you know that the Black Press of America, we're going to help promote all that great work, transformative work that you're doing through your efforts.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. I can't wait to get into this, all the amazing news. And when you said Africa, count me in. When can I go? Where do we go? I'm in for sure.
Absolutely. You'll be a part of the delegation.
There you go. Dr. Striblin, you're doing so much work. I want to start with the Born to Be Powerful Academy. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, Stacy, I started Born to Be Powerful Academy after I retired from the United States military after serving in the Army for 21 years. And it was my way, I thought, was just giving back, and I still give back. But at the beginning, it was helping women go through the process of divorce. But it quickly turned into a coaching consulting business where I help women globally start their own economy. And I'll say that again, help women around the world start their own economy because of what's happening during the pandemic and things like that. There is an opportunity for us, again, to create our own economy straight from our kitchen table.
Wow. And we just talked about the wealth gap, Dr. Striblin, and it seems like it's only growing. And what you just talked about with helping women with their own economy, put it together for us, Dr. Striblin. The importance of that is underscored, obviously, by the wealth gap. But what is it that you are trying to instill the basics? What are the basics that you're trying to instill in women in general?
Well, Stacy, even for me, I was married for 18 years. I went through a divorce. It took about 3 years. And I'm truly grateful that I had a job per se at the time because I was still in the Army. And I started thinking about what we as women need in our lives to really help us, close in that gap, but not even just closing the gap, but stop robbing Peter to pay Paul. And at that moment, I know what I went through. So I just decided that I didn't want another woman to go through that. And as far as bridging the gap, the wealth gap, I know we as women, I'm going to say this, we as Black women have so much talent And I don't just help Black women, I help all women, but really specifically women of color around the world, thinking about, what it is that we need to be able to pay our bills and not necessarily going to go get a job. And when I say building a business from your kitchen table, just think about all the things, if you think back to your mom and your grandmother and your sisters and your aunts and all of that, all those talents that we have or had back then, and even more so now in the world that we live in. And so just imagine a woman with all these talents. For me, I went through a divorce. I wouldn't consider that a talent, but it's something that I'd been through that I didn't want another woman to have to, I would say, kind of struggle through herself. So I decided, well, let me help another woman, because I didn't want my worst enemy to go through that. And it was just more of, let's take the ideas that we have, the thoughts that we have, and the things that people pick our brain about a lot. Maybe you're a single mom and other women are asking, how do you do that? Or maybe you are a hairstylist and you're helping other business owners start their business. And for me, it was just sitting back, doing what I love, helping other women bridge that gap and generate levels of income that was unheard of where I grew up. So just helping them think about becoming a coach or a consultant in this world where people need help, for sure.
Wow. And Dr. Striblin, the Black press is comprised of several hundred newspapers and media companies, many of them owned by Black women. And you mentioned starting the business at the kitchen table. At least one of our publishers that I know of, Joy Bramble of the Baltimore Times, that's exactly how she started the Baltimore and the Annapolis Times, at her kitchen table. Dr. Chavis, obviously, a whole lot more about that than I do, but I want you to interact with Dr. Striblin, because what she's telling us is some amazing information.
Oh, absolutely. And I know all of our publishers, the women and the men, are listening very carefully to the teachings of Dr. Striblin. I think that, sometimes Dr. Striblin, because of systemic racism, we tend to focus on the deficit. We tend to focus on the pathology of Black America rather than the opportunities for success and for excellence. Can you just talk about, first, tell us where you're based, where's your company based, and how can people get in touch with you to get that advice and counsel that you have? But tell us also a little bit about, you mentioned your divorce and the impact that had on you, but you didn't let that be a negative, that you have stepped forward and now be a successful entrepreneur in your own right. But talk to us about, I always like for our guests to talk about their family location, where you were born, how you got to this point. And when you were in the military, tell us what you learned as a Black woman, now as a distinguished veteran of the military.
Ooh, Dr. Chavis, those are loaded questions, but I will try to answer them very succinctly, for sure. Well, I'm originally from Wilson, Arkansas, a little small town in Arkansas. I'm the mother, from my mom and dad, second and third grade education. I'm the youngest of 12.
Great.
And yes, a lot of kids, same mom and dad, they were busy during that time, and they were a sharecropper and a housekeeper. And so at that time, that's what I saw. But I'll be honest, that's not what I wanted for my life. I had a child at a very young age, 15 years old. I had my first child, 17. Tragic things that happened in my life. I was raped and left for dead. Then quickly after that, I joined the United States military, and I now reside in Atlanta, Georgia. So after I served my country for 21 years, I came to hot Atlanta, where I had heard that there was a lot of successful people of color. And that was the truth, for sure. But my business is based online. That's what I love about it. I can work from anywhere in the world. So it is not a storefront or anything like that. It is based from the comforts of my home. I've been doing this for the last, 5 or 6 years. And it's truly been a blessing. I am the mother of 3 boys. Have 3 grown children. And for me, Dr. Chavis and Stacy, it was more of, as a mom, a young mom, and even now in my 50s, I really wanted to leave a legacy for my kids. And I know we talk about that all the time, and it's great. But for me, if you didn't come from a wealthy family, let a wealthy family come from you. And I'll say that again for those that are taking notes. If you did not come from a wealthy family, let a wealthy family come from you. Meaning, I didn't come from money. Didn't know anything about it at the kitchen table back in my day, in the era where I grew up. It was not a conversation about wealth. It wasn't about stocks, bonds, cryptocurrency, none of that was a conversation. It was more of, don't get pregnant, stay away from boys. That's what it was. Yeah. Right. And me having 3 boys now, I wanted them to see something different. I didn't want them to struggle per se. I wanted them to see some things, and I wanted them to be able, for me to be able to leave a legacy for their children's children that are not even here yet. But I think about them every single day, because I know it's time for us as people of color, women, especially Black women, to turn the leaf and be able to stand on top and not really sit back and think about what everybody else is thinking about us, but we get to make and create our own economy for sure.
Oh, that's great. You answered all those questions. I've just, I think the benefit of this program, Stacy and Dr. Striblin, is that we ask questions, give an opportunity to our guests to give answers that the mainstream press sometimes overlooks. That's what's important about the Black press of America. We dig deep. We're the trusted voice of Black America. And certainly your story, Dr. Striblin, is applicable to millions of our sisters, not only in America, but throughout the world. And that's why we want to lift you up and lift what you do so well up. And your sons are very blessed to have a mother like you.
Oh, thank you so much for your kind words.
And then she's over here trying to tell us she's in her 50s. Who's believing that? But anyway,
I am.
I want to also say good morning to another one of my favorite people in the whole world, my cousin Arlette Vickers. She's watching. My Aunt Pam is watching. It's a family affair this morning. Bobby Henry says that you are the epitome of strength. Yes, strength epitomized. Dr. Striblin, you mentioned some traumatic things there, and you've been able to overcome that. I'm sure you're asked about that when you talk about it. You asked that a lot. What was the key for you to overcoming such horrific trauma?
Oh man, I get asked that, and sometimes it's kind of challenging. I can't say I overcame it. I would say I embodied it, and what I mean by that, it was, having a child at 15, being raped and all those things, going through a divorce after being married 18 years. But I started to think about what can I leave, or who can I help? That was my biggest thing. And if I can share a very brief story, Stacy, probably about 6 years ago when I was going through this process, coming home from, the military. I'm a 3-time combat veteran. I spent time in Iraq and places like that where, some of my friends, where most men don't want to be. But I started thinking about, how can I serve my community? How can I serve others? And at the time, and I'll be honest, I sat on my suicide couch. I didn't say suicide bed, my suicide couch, because I really didn't want to be here. And I say that openly because there's probably someone watching where you get to a place where, you just want to give up. And I really did. But I started thinking about, I don't want my kids to live like this or remember me this way. And so I start stepping out, really helping other women. Again, I started a consulting business. And at the time, it wasn't supposed to be per se a business. I just wanted to help. And so many women started to come. And then I started, okay, now I really have a business. I found myself on Bravo television. I've been on the Word Network, TV One, all those places. And I'm thinking, like, this is a little girl from Wilson, Arkansas, being able to do this. And I would say a couple of things. One, I gave myself permission. And I always say, give yourself permission to be amazing, because nobody else is going to give it to you at all. The world's not going to be nicer. The world's not going to say, you know what, Sonja, you served your country. I came home to a country as a major in the United States military when I retired, and I still get treated differently. It's just different from different cultures, but different as being a woman, period. And I just decided, want to give myself permission to be amazing and help other women give themselves permission to be amazing. It was two, not even just being resilient. And I call it being more in a place where I was vulnerable. And a lot of people think, and especially, I don't know about other women, but my mom, it was like, you got to be hard, you got to be strong and all of that. But she didn't tell me how to be in a place where I could ask for help or just make it okay. And so I started to ask for help. I went through therapy and all those things, but I started to get other people to help me build my business. And again, it just takes me to this place where I'm able to build a multi-six figures. And I have to say this, and y'all please forgive me, because I truly believe a lot of us, especially people of color, we don't talk about the level of where we are so we can help someone else understand that they can have it too. And that's where I created, Born to Be Powerful Academy, where, coming up, I'll have the Coach to Millions, and that really helps women understand this world of coaching and consulting and how we can use our life experience and our knowledge to help other people get to their next level.
Wow, amazing. And those are the words of our chair from the Houston Forward Times, our national chairwoman, Karen Carter Richards. She writes in, "You are amazing." Dr. Striblin, Dr. Chavis, you know, one thing she hasn't told us that we also know about Dr. Striblin, President Barack Obama awarded her the Presidential Lifetime Achievement Award. Tell us a little bit about that and the feeling you got from that. Oh, we lost her.
Did you lose me? Here I am.
She's
Here
back.
I'm right here.
She's back.
No, it was some years ago, and many people, when they say it, and I have to remember, like, so many things, and I'm still on this movement of being better. And, when people say that, I'm like, okay, how did it feel? At the moment, it was just unreal. And they announce when I'm speaking around the world and doing television shows and they talk about that, I still am like, what? Our first Black president that we had gives me an award. I'm the recipient of the Presidential Lifetime Achievement Award, but it's unreal. It really is. And I do it on behalf of all the other women that are out there. I want them to know that you can come from nothing, you can lose everything, and really get to a place where you get to serve and people recognize what you do. So it's still unreal, even though it's been a few years, but it's just something that I want other women to achieve in their life. So somebody's got to lead the way. And when I heard someone say through me, and I really mean through me, that another woman can see that she can achieve her heart's desires and her dreams.
Yeah, and we haven't even talked about your book. She's an author as well. That resume, Dr. Chavis, is endless. So tell us a little bit about the book.
I'm a 3-time author working on my third book, a 2-time author. So it's the first book that I wrote is called The Divorce That Saved My Life. And it's 12 principles to overcoming a broken relationship. And I talk about my story, but I give practical things that women and men can do about, overcoming those broken hearts and, the broken relationships. And that can be found on Amazon. And then I wrote one that you can only get at my events. It's called Shift Pain into Power. And I wrote that book after I made my first million in a year. And it wasn't on purpose. This was out here just doing what I do and understanding my worth and being able to, charge a fee for my speaking and my coaching and consulting. So I wrote that book, Shifting Pain into Power, because power to me is totally different than anything else. It stands for possibilities, opportunities, wealth, worth, and well-being. The E is for excellence and responsibility, because I believe we all have a responsibility to help at least 10,000 people before we leave this earth. And I'm truly honored to say I've bypassed that number. I guess I'm called an overachiever, but it's just helping other women. And then the third book that I'm working on, Stacy, is called No More Damn Excuses. And it's a woman's guide to her next level life and business. And I wanted women to understand that we are more than our husbands' wives, and we are more than our children's mothers. Those are great accomplishments and achievements, but there's so much more out there for us if we would just stand up to the plate and overcome some of the things that have happened in our lives. So just working on that third book, it has been a trying one because it is all about my life and really what I've been able to do thus far.
Yeah, I would imagine it, though you say it's trying, but I would imagine it's somewhat cathartic.
Oh, yes. Oh, absolutely. For sure. Because there's a lot, as women, what we go through in our lives, and just being able to overcome it, number one, and two, to be able to help other people go through that very same thing, something that I couldn't even imagine, but it has truly been a blessing.
Yeah, absolutely. Dr. Chavis, your closing thoughts with Dr. Striblin.
Well, to Dr. Sonja Major Striblin, I'm going to salute you.
Thank you.
Because, you are a success story. You not only overcome trauma, overcome challenges. You are a distinguished military veteran, combat veteran. You're a great mom. Just tell the audience just quickly, by being so successful as an entrepreneur, how's that affected your son? What is their outlook? You have 3 sons. We're celebrating, not celebrating, we're recognizing the memorial now for George Floyd, and particularly African American brothers, young brothers, are somewhat a target in our society. So, as a strong entrepreneur, successful mother, what is your message to, not only to young women, to young men, to Black America? If you could just capitalize in 2021, how do you see the future and the role of being an entrepreneur?
Oh man, if I may, Dr. Chavis, I remember when all that took place, and it was like my son, because I have
Yes.
3 Black men, and it was for that time frame. I think for about 2 weeks, I cried every single day because I thought about my Black babies being out there, and
Yes.
it just it made me really think about what I wanted them to be able to accomplish in their lives, which means mommy had to lead the way, and of course their dad is in their life. But mom had to lead the way. And so just thinking back to George Floyd, and it just breaks my heart what we've been through as people, what we've been through as Americans, what we've been through as a race and a culture. It is just me teaching my children now that you will not rely on any man at all. We will not let any man hold us back on what we do. And so, one of my sons is in NFL, plays for the CFL now, and just watching him and having these conversations, because they all came home during that time frame because of, the pandemic and things like that. And my oldest son, who is in his 30s, 35, 21, and a 25-year-old, 26-year-old, excuse me. And it's just sitting back thinking about them. I want them to come from legacy. And again, as I said before, if you didn't come from a wealthy family, let a wealthy family come from you. That is written on my heart. It is written on my last name, per se, and it's also written in my checkbook for my children. And so giving them an opportunity that maybe some other children didn't have, or the one that I did not have and my brothers did not have, but just watching them, I want them to understand that you let no man hold you back. And we are not going to allow them to give us a check just for a couple of months, just to hold us over. But we go out and write our own checks for sure.
Great
Wow.
lessons. Thank you so much.
Absolutely amazing. And see, it's conversations like this and information like this that you will only get if you register for the NMPA's annual convention. It's virtual this year. And thanks to our chair, Karen Carter Richards, our president and CEO, Dr. Ben Chavis, and the NMPA's executive committee, it's free. And you'll get some great information. And you'll also learn why this is the 194th year of the Black Press of America. Yeah, we were founded before the end of slavery. Y'all hear end of slavery, before the end of slavery. And you'll find out why, despite a pandemic, it was the best year in the history of the Black Press of America. Register now, www.virtualnmpa2021.com. It's www.virtualnmpa2021.com. Register today. It's free. A lot will be going on June the 23rd to June the 26th. Lots of entertainment, lots of great information, and great individuals like Dr. Sonja Striblin, who we thank for joining us this morning. Let it be known, an investment in knowledge pays the best interest. We will see you tomorrow.